convicted murderer who escaped from a transport bus in Leon County, Texas, between Dallas and Houston. The prisoner somehow slipping out of his restraints and then breaking through the cage that protects the prison driver, stabbing the driver before getting away. Some schools canceling classes, residents warned to stay inside. Checkpoints have now been set up tonight. ABC's Maria Villarreal from Texas this evening.
Tonight, residents being told to stay indoors and lock their doors and vehicles as more than 300 officers from multiple agencies across Texas search for convicted murderer Gonzalo Artemio Lopez.
He killed a man in 2005 with a pickaxe.
Lopez was with 15 other prisoners in this white bus being taken to a medical appointment in Huntsville, Texas on Thursday, when authorities say he somehow got free from his restraints and got through the wire cage protecting the driver.
When he got through that opening that he cut open, that's when he started struggling with the officer,
stabbing the driver in the chest and hand with an unknown object, crashing the bus and escaping into a pasture. Authorities setting up checkpoints, schools in the area closing down.
The advice to the public right now is, if at all possible, stay in your homes. And if you see this guy, do not engage him.
Welcome back to the Top Notch Documentaries YouTube channel. It was early morning on April 23rd, 2005 when Gonzalo Artemio Lopez would be arrested for holding a certain white powder and transported to the Starr County Sheriff's Office in Rio Grande City, Texas. Lopez was read his Miranda rights by an investigator and signed his initials next to each of them before waiving his rights. It was around 5:20 AM, and what came next would baffle the investigator. Gonzalo wanted to talk to an FBI agent. Hours passed, but eventually an FBI agent was dispatched to the sheriff's office at Gonzalo Lopez's request. Lopez, it would turn out, had a warrant out for his arrest from West Laco County, and he would be informed of this by the FBI agent. Just after midday, a second FBI agent arrived and an interview was conducted regarding Gonzalo's arrest warrant incident. The FBI were interested in getting more information out of him, and Lopez proceeded to give the agents a full written confession. A week before March 23rd of 2005, Lopez had had words with someone high up in the La Mana cartel from Tamaulipas, Mexico, and from what I could find, La Mana is a specialised subgroup of Los Zetas, which began acting out as muscle for the Gulf cartel in the late 1990s. Lopez was informed that a man owed the cartel $40,000 and Lopez was asked if he could help out by collecting the money. Evidently, Lopez had a reputation as someone who was willing to get his hands dirty. Lopez and an accomplice named Rick, and his real name was never given by Lopez, were tasked with collecting the $40,000, and they were given the man's name and address. They rang the doorbell at the man's home in West Laco, Texas, and his wife answered the door. They asked, "Where is he?" Before Lopez aimed a rusty revolver at the woman, and they located the man, knocked him to the floor and restrained him. Having wrapped the man up in duct tape in front of his wife, they abducted him and travelled to Lopez's mother's residence, also in West Laco. It was now a kidnap for ransom setup, and they held him hostage as they awaited payment from his family. Not long after, his family managed to raise a portion of the debt. His family handed over 3 trucks, $8,000 in cash, and 30 pounds of marijuana, but it still wasn't enough. As a result, orders were given for Lopez and Rick to take him out. They drove him to a remote wooded area about a quarter mile from Lopez's mother's house and took him into the woods. They then dug his grave. Lopez savagely murdered the man with a pickaxe. They both then filled in his grave and fled. The man's body was later recovered on April 24th with the help of Lopez, and his version of events was verified. The murdered man's wife ID'd Gonzalo Lopez in a police lineup on April 21st as she remembered seeing the tattoo Olga, and that was Gonzalo's mum's name, on his neck. Gonzalo's mother feared that her son was up to no good again and allowed investigators to search her home and shed in her yard around this time. They would find a Smith & Wesson revolver, newspaper clippings from unrelated murders out of Mexico, $3,400 in cash, in $100 bills, and duct tape attached to a chair in the shed, where it appeared as if someone had been held hostage. The evidence against Lopez was insurmountable, and it didn't look good for him. In early 2006, Gonzalo Lopez was convicted of capital murder and aggravated kidnapping. he was given a life sentence for the crime. The following year, in 2007, Lopez was hit with yet another hefty amount of time for a past crime. This additional charge perfectly illustrates just how dangerous Lopez truly was. The charge was for attempted capital murder of a police officer. For this, Lopez received yet another life sentence. He was moved from the jail to the Texas prison system. Gonzalo Lopez would never be able to step foot in society, and I'm sure that even he didn't anticipate a day they would ever be free. But this is real life, and bad events come along unexpectedly, and something awful was about to occur in Texas. Years had passed, and it was May 12th of 2022, and Lopez was on a prison transport bus holding 16 prisoners because he was going to attend a medical appointment in Huntsville, Texas. Lopez was caged away from the regular inmates given his dangerous history, but he had managed to convince the other inmates to briefly start a distraction and move attention away from his direction. As the bus approached the Texan city of Centerville, inmates began yelling and screaming. It's a well-known fact that convicts are well versed and ingenious when it comes to creating different devices and not following the prison rules. No surprises there. Lopez had smuggled a shank and a makeshift handcuff key onto the bus somehow and actually cut through his cage. Lopez stabbed the guard driving and a fight ensued, with Lopez taking control of the wheel. Both of the veteran guards on board ended up on the side of the road, shooting at the wheels of the bus in a desperate bid to prevent a 16-inmate escape. They were successful in recapturing 15 who were still confined in their seats, but unsuccessful in subduing Lopez, who had crashed the bus into some nearby woodland and made a dash.
Yo, we saw the inmate.
Oh my god.
What the heck?
In just a short amount of time, one of the most dangerous convicts in the state of Texas had escaped a prison transport bus, and everybody in the surrounding area was now on alert. Lopez had nothing to lose, and he wasn't the sort of man who needed a gun to kill someone. After all, he had put a pickaxe through a man's head. Plus, he was a cartel associate who even had links to the prison-based gang known as the Mexican Mafia. Yet, this guy wasn't someone that you want to get on the bad side of. The manhunt for Gonzalo Lopez began, and for the first 2 weeks, hundreds of officers searched the woodland where he was last seen, as he was believed to have been hiding there still. But Lopez was not found, and there were no traces of him. Just where had he gone? Was he headed to Mexico? He had been associated with a cartel out of Tamaulipas, or was he still in Texas? Nobody could say for sure, but the people assigned to search for him were becoming more frustrated by the day. Lopez was placed on the Texas top 10 most wanted fugitives list, with a large reward being offered for information leading to his capture. On June 2nd of 2022, Lopez was presumably looking for food and supplies to aid with his survival in the Texas wilderness. He stumbled upon a home in Centerville, Texas, and this home was in the police search radius. Lopez made his way into the house and bumped into the Collins family, who owned the ranch-style house and were back there visiting. Lopez was already armed and proceeded to kill 66-year-old Mark Collins, his 4 grandkids named Waylon, Carson, Hudson, and the boy's cousin named Bryson. Autopsy reports detail how they'd all both been shot and stabbed by Lopez. Lopez ransacked the house, stealing some guns, one of which was an AR-15. He then drove off in their truck. A relative who had not heard from Mark Collins immediately felt as though something wasn't right and called the police. Police responded, finding Mark and the dead children. Gonzalo Lopez was instantly named as a prime suspect, given his suspected close proximity. The Chevrolet Silverado that Lopez had taken from the family was spotted in the evening, and police jumped into gear. A coordinated police effort had spike strips thrown and police tails on Lopez. Lopez hit the spike strips, and after a short chase which involved Lopez shooting from the Chevrolet, he collided with a pole and bailed from the vehicle. But, with police having cornered him close to the city of Jordanton, his time on the run was soon to come to a close. Lopez aimed the AR-15 and fired at police, at which point they lit him up, dropping him to the ground. Lopez died at the scene, leaving behind a trail of misery in his passing. Small events like him being able to make it onto the bus with a shank and a handcuff key, and the fact that the Collins family were coincidentally in the area, really make this a seemingly preventable tragedy. And I just wanted to say rest in peace to Mark, his grandkids and their cousin. This has been the story of Gonzalo Artemio Lopez. As always, thank you for watching.